Good evening, everyone, and welcome to the Town Board Work Session for Tuesday, June 23rd, 2020. Let's go ahead and jump right into tonight's agenda. Jill?
Okay, so the first thing on our agenda tonight is a presentation of the 2019 audit results in our CAFA. We are joined tonight with by Alan Cassay. He is our auditor from O'Connor Davies, and he will walk us through it. Rob Deary is here as well to tell us what kind of amazing shape the town is in, despite our rocky road. Okay, Alan, don't disappoint. I think you're still on mute, though. Alan, you're on mute.
Mute. There.
I think you're better now.
Okay. Can everybody see the PowerPoint?
All right.
Yes.
Yes.
Okay. Am I unmuted?
You are.
Good.
Okay, very good. Okay, then I'll begin. Okay, so what I did, I believe everybody has a copy of the financial report, the CAFR. What I did, I took a synopsis and prepared the PowerPoint, and we'll go over some of the highlights. So on the first, let's see, why is this not going down? Okay. Okay, so for the agenda, we'll go over the audit results, the fund balance for the general fund, the budget tax roll summary for the current year, general fund revenues, expenditures, and then we'll look at the long-term liabilities and then the summary. Okay, the audit results, everything that I have here is in your financial statements. So the audit results are on pages 1 through 3. It's the independent auditor's report. Basically, it says that we audited the 2019 financial statements in accordance with the auditing standards generally accepted in the United States. The objective was to obtain reasonable assurance that the financial statements are free of material misstatement, which they are. The scope of the audit was to evaluate all significant aspects of the operations of the town and to reduce the risk of the audit to an acceptable level. The primary focus was not on individual transactions, but the overall financial statement for which we're giving an opinion on. Okay, based on the audit, we're satisfied that we could render an unmodified opinion, which is also known as a clean opinion. It's the best opinion you could receive. Okay, so here we have the general fund. It's a look back over the past 4 years, 2016 all the way to the left, 2019, the second column in from the left. At the end of 2019, there were 4 different buckets of fund balance. The first one being non-spendable, which are your prepaid expenditures. And if you just look over at 2017, you'll see there was another category under non-spendable, the long-term receivables. But the Government Accounting Standards Board came out with a new pronouncement, which the town implemented this year, GASB Statement number 84. Basically, they eliminated the agency fund. And because these long-term receivables were taxes that the town owed to the county and the school districts, the Government Accounting Standards Board, GASB, felt that they shouldn't be in the general fund where they always have been. And they put them in the new fund, which is called the custodial fund. It used to be the agency fund. So for the most part, everything that was in the agency fund is now in the general fund, and the long-term receivable for your taxes are in the custodial fund, okay? GASB keeps coming out with these pronouncements, and you implement, this one had to be implemented this year. There's another one coming out that should have been implemented next year, is GASB 87, having to do with leases, but because of COVID-19, they postponed that to 2021, okay? So going back to the fund balance, in the restricted column, you have $375,000 that's restricted for debt service. Your total reserve in debt service is $525,000, but you're using $150,000 of that total to apply to the 2020 budget, okay? So you're appropriating that. The assigned category, you have encumbrances of 259,000, which is very immaterial. And then you're taking 500,000 out of this total fund balance to balance the 2020 budget. And basically what that means is you're providing a revenue source in the 2020 budget of $500,000. So when you begin the year for 2021, you're in a $500,000 hole to begin with because you're using this money. But when we get to the results of the year, you'll see that you're in pretty good shape. And then the last line, or the next to last line, is the unassigned fund balance. At the end of 19, you had $9,278,000 in your unassigned fund balance. And basically, this is the money, your rainy day fund, and right now it's raining pretty hard because of COVID-19. So your total fund balance is $11,432,000. The unassigned fund balance represents about 41% of your 2020 budget. Okay, the state controller usually likes to have anywhere from 15 to 25%. And I know the town doesn't have a formal fund balance policy, which for the most part, most of the rating agencies look very favorable upon that, but I don't think your rating could get much better than AAA. So, I mean, but it is a good, it's a suggestion that you should consider having a formal fund balance policy. But as of now, your unassigned is 41%. Okay? Any questions? Okay. Let's see. Okay, let me just scroll down. Okay, so here you have the budget to actual for 2019. Going across left to right, you have the original budget, the final budget, the actual, and then the variance with the final budget. So you have your total revenues of 20,547,000. The final budget was 21,361,000, and the actual came in at 22,137,000. Generating a positive budgetary variance of 775,000. And one thing I have to point out, which I think is extremely important, especially now, is the town's budget has always been prepared on the revenue and expenditure side very conservatively. And that's a very key fact in terms of when you prepare your budget, only because the situation we're in now, when we get to some of the detailed revenues, you'll see how that could impact your activity for 2020. So for 2019, the revenues generated 775,000 positive variance. On the expenditure side, the original budget was 22.2 million, went up slightly to 22.3, and the actual came in at 21,659,000, generating a positive variance of 687,000. So then you have your excess of revenues over expenditures of 477,000. You have your other financing sources, for the most part, with transfers out of 424,000. So if you look at the net change in fund balance column under the original budget, you'll see the bracketed $1,110,000. That consists of 950,000 from the 2018 fund balance that you used to balance the 19 budget. It also includes 150,000 from the debt service reserves to balance the budget, and you had $10,000 of encumbrances. So basically, when you prepared this budget, you were anticipating using 110,000 of your fund balance at the beginning of the year. It was a balanced budget, so if the revenues came in as budgeted, the same with the expenditures, you would have utilized 110,000. But because you had those positive variances in both the revenues and the expenditures, your actual results for operations was a positive $53,000, which meant that you had a positive budgetary variance overall of $1,163,000. Okay? So if you take the 53,000, add it to the fund balance at the beginning of the year, the 11,379,000, you ended the year with 11,432,000 total fund balance, which we saw in the previous slide. Okay. These are a few of the general fund revenues, and here you'll see what I mean. I mean, your real property taxes had a negative variance of 544,000, and that's only because of the calculation that we do for the uncollected taxes that are your taxes. So there's a piece that goes into the allowance for uncollected taxes, and that came up 544 short. The non-property taxes are your sales tax. Now the 3.2 million is up about 14% from the prior year. But if you take your total revenues and you back out your property taxes, your sales tax is approximately 14% of all your other revenues. And I don't know if the town has received it. We received a report from Westchester County on the sales tax. I think it's through April or May, and it's down about 15%. Okay. It would have been about 30 or 35%, but except for the fact that they increased their rate by 1% towards the end of last year. So you benefited from that. So sales tax is definitely a key component of your revenues. And unfortunately, there's not much you could do about it. That's why when I said you budgeted on a very conservative basis is because the only revenue that you really can control are your property taxes. Everything else is based on the economy, the residents, user fees, and so forth. So the fact that you've done it conservatively is a good thing. The use of money in property had a positive variance of 280,000, and that's up about 97,000. The license and permits, they were down about $524,000. And I imagine that trend will continue into 2020. And the state aid was down the mortgage tax was down about 165,000. So that, nobody knows how that's going to play out. I don't know how it'll be affected by COVID-19. Obviously, there isn't much real estate activity going on now, but I think things will pick up. Okay, here are some of the general fund expenditures. The general government support had a positive variance of 274,000, and that was spread through all the categories. There wasn't one category in particular. Public safety had 101,000 positive variance, and that was mostly in police. The culture and rec had a positive variance of 170,000. Overall, the actual expenditure is comparable to the prior year. And the employee benefits at a positive variance of 17,000. It's an overall increase of 2%, but the pension was down about 75,000. Now, the rates that you pay for the employees' retirement, the police and fire retirement system, are based on a 5-year average of the investments in the stock market. So we all know that the stock market has been fluctuating. It's down from its high earlier in the year of almost 30,000, it's down to 25,000. So when that increase in the rates will kick in will either be in 2020 or 2021. And how much of an increase it will again depend on the market, how it plays out for the rest of the year. And your debt service had an increase in the current year. It had a positive variance of $1, but I just wanted to bring it out because the overall expenditure increased by about 916,000 because the bond that you issued in 2018, the $17 million bond, the principal and interest came due in 2019, and that amounted to $915,000. No, it amounted to about $2 million, but the increase is 900,000. Okay. And then here's just a schedule of your long-term liabilities. Basically, your bonds, your general obligation bonds, all this information for the long-term liabilities can be found in the CAFR on page 45 and 46. When you issued the bonds, you received a premium, and that premium gets allocated and amortized every year against the principal. You have compensated absences of $1,026,000. And you have net pension liability for the ERS and PFRS of $3.5 million. And the OPEB, you had quite an increase of $5.4 million from last year. And that was because when they did the actuarial analysis, certain of the variables changed, the rates. The discount rate, they lowered by 1%. The spousal coverage increased by 8.3%. And the healthcare costs, because you do so well in the consortium, they didn't increase very much, okay? But bear in mind that the $75 million is a GASB pronouncement number. Your actual expense in 2019 was $2.4 million. So that's what you actually paid out. And that's the only thing that really is affecting your budget. The $75 million liability is going to be paid out over X number of years. So your trend in terms of what you actually pay each year may go up only because the healthcare costs are going to go up. People are living longer. And whenever they do the actuarial analysis and they use different longevity tables, that'll probably be indicated in that. So the rates may go up and your expense will go up. Okay. Any questions?
That 75 million is over a period of 30 years. So,
well, when they initially did it, it was over 30 years, correct. Basically what they, they take all your current employees and your retired employees and the age when they started working in their current age. So people are living longer, and because of the change in the variables, the decrease in the return rate and the increase in the coverage, the rate went up by almost, $5.5 million. But the liability, you're actually paying about $2.5 million a year. And that amount shouldn't increase significantly over the years, but it will go up. Okay, I doubt very much that it would go down. Okay, so that's part of your budget. Okay. And then just to close, again, we issued an unmodified opinion. We submitted the CAFR, the Comprehensive Annual Financial Report for 2019, and you've gotten the certificate for 22 straight years, which is a very good accomplishment, because out of all the municipalities we do, there's probably a handful that actually, prepare CAFR. It requires a lot of work from the finance department. The statistics go back 10 years. And if you look in the back of the report, you'll see that there are table upon table of statistics relating to the town. In addition, at the beginning of your CAFA, there's a transmittal letter, which is similar to the management discussion and analysis, but it goes into more detail about the activity within the town for the year, the capital projects, all your accomplishments and so forth. And it gives you a better picture of the overall picture of the town. Again, your Moody's, you're rated AAA, can't do much better than that. And as I mentioned, you implemented GASB statement number 84 in the current year. GASB 87 regarding leases won't be due until 21 and 22. And overall, the town had a good year considering everything. And I'm sure your budget for 2020 was prepared in the same manner as it was in previous years. And you certainly do have a sizable fund balance that you will be able to draw upon if needed. So the audit went very well. We issued a management letter. There were no material weaknesses or significant deficiencies. There were a few comments, nothing, just control deficiencies, which the finance department usually addresses every year. And if there are any questions, I'd be happy to answer them. None?
No, I don't have any questions. I really appreciate the succinct and favorable presentation that you gave us today, Alan. Thank you.
You're very welcome, Supervisor Poole.
Yeah. Is it possible for you to forward us this your PowerPoint, your presentation? It's a lot.
Certainly.
Yeah,
I
so-
have it, Jason. I can forward it to you. I have a copy, and I thought it might be difficult for you guys to have it on the screen, and that's why I asked Alan to share it on the screen, but I can certainly forward the PowerPoint to the entire board.
Great.
And I had a half-hour lesson before we started on how to do the sharing.
You did
I
great.
I wasn't sure if everybody's set up and if anybody had multiple monitors and you're trying to watch and you're trying to look at something and
No problem.
we're all getting used to the Zoom meetings.
I know. I had a meeting last week and somebody said to me, they said, "You're going to share this?" And I didn't know what they were talking about. So after I left the meeting, I inquired, what do they mean by sharing? And I was able to do it for tonight's meeting. So I'm glad it worked out.
Thank you, Alan.
You're very welcome. Okay,
Good to see you, by the way.
you too. Eventually we'll meet in person in I'll
Yeah.
come to town hall. All right, thank you very much.
All right, take care. Thanks.
Have a good night.
Great job, Rob. Woo!
Thank you.
Always a good job. Those numbers weren't so bad at all.
This was, no, the numbers were good. This audit was different than anything we've ever performed, and it was really the first audit that O'Connor Davies, or the first round of audits that O'Connor Davies did remotely. Our audit was scheduled the week that everything was shut down, and we made the decision to follow through with the audit. We were prepared anyways. The documents that I have when I'm preparing for my audit, I have files from prior years. So basically I just reproduce everything that's in a file for the current year that we're auditing. And I had all that stuff. So I was able to give that to them. Obviously we like to have them on site. They get an opportunity to see our processes and procedures. They did get to see that during the preliminary audit in January. They are on site for a couple of days in January. And that's followed up by usually a week on site in March, but we just didn't have the opportunity. But ours was one of the first to be completed remotely, and according to Alan, it went very smoothly. So it went smoothly from my end as well. So
Yeah, you have this down to a science, let's face it.
yeah,
You really do.
it is routine after a little while.
Good routine.
Yes.
Board have any questions for Rob? Okay, you want to stick around while we just do a couple more things?
I'll stick around for the work session. Sure.
Great, okay. Our next item is authorization for approval of the Millwood Water Treatment Plant Annual Chemical Bid price extensions. We were able to extend contracts on quite a few chemical award bids, and so we're able to extend them with no increases for an additional year. So hoping the board is pleased with that. We're thrilled with it. And the couple that we weren't able to extend the price extensions, there's a resolution just for two of the items, the liquid aluminum sulfate and the liquid caustic soda. And they came in with minimum increases for the next year.
These are all chemicals that are used by DPW.
Millwood Water Treatment Plant.
Oh, okay. Thank you.
Okay, the next is the acceptance of the CHIPS Pave New York and the Extreme Winter Recovery monies. Believe it or not, we need town board approval to accept money from the state. Hoping there's no problem with this. We always wish it was more, but we're thrilled to get it. Next is authorization to award the portable bathroom contract for Amsterdam Park. So this is for our, I'm sorry? Oh, okay. So this is for our camp at Amsterdam Park. There are in fact composting bathrooms there right now, but we're going to sort of bring an upgrade in for the kids for the summer, make things a little bit easier. And so these are, they look like regular bathrooms. They're in a trailer type composition, and Department of Health has approved them. So we're very excited, and basically we are ready for camp. The next is the extension of the suburban carding agreement. So this contract actually covers three different carding contracts that the town has. Two are for Allen Place Refuse District, South Greeley Refuse, And the town buildings, which we piggyback with the school. It's one of our shared services with Chappaqua Central School District. Collectively, the contract is for $63,960, and it's going to remain that way. Suburban Carting was able to extend the contract for us. We're going to renew it without any increase in the charges, which is fabulous. Next, we've got adoption of minutes and payment of claims. And that's basically all we've got. Our public hearing is, of course, going to be during our town board meeting, so we'll do that in just a moment. And does anybody have any questions on any of the items? Okay, I'm just going to
ask a
yes.
question about the CHIPS Pave New York
Sure.
funding.
Yep.
Rob, am I correct in thinking that they did not revise those numbers down yet for this coming fiscal year? And do we anticipate that they will be?
So,
Reduced?
so actually, Lauren had called me earlier to ask about this, and in looking at the numbers, so the Pave New York was budgeted at about 222,000. I'm sorry, the CHIPS was about 222,000. That's the amount that we get every year. That amount it's very close to that amount every year. Has been guaranteed in the past. The extreme winter recovery and the Pave New York, we have received those the last couple of years, but those have not been, in my entire time as being comptroller, we haven't received those monies every year. Those are usually determined by the state when they have excess funds, if we've had a particularly harsh winter, that type of thing. Yeah. So I think the total was about 316,000, the three numbers combined.
Right. Mm-hmm.
They're saying right now, and I don't know if they use the term guarantee, but they're believing right now that we have 80% of those funds
right
approved at this point in time. I think the other 20% is probably dependent on the state's financial situation and possibly any federal funding. But the amount that we've been told now is about 80% of that number, which in the pessimistic view I gave, I said we could possibly get zero.
Right.
80% is way better than zero. But when you add the extreme winter recovery and the Pave New York, 80% of that 316 figure is still above that 222 for us. So it looks like we may have the full budgeted amount that we were expecting, which would be great news.
Yeah.
Definitely. Thank you.
Yeah.
Thanks, Lauren, for having me prepared for that question.
I'd like to say we worked on that in advance.
Tag team.
Tips. I thought we said we weren't going to get any of this money, and I had to call him, and I was really.
I told everyone. I mean, as Alan, on a financial standpoint, I'm extremely conservative. I'm probably more pessimistic even than conservative. So I just want to prepare everybody kind of for the worst case, and hopefully it's better, and hopefully it's never worse than I think it's going to be. And so far it hasn't been. So that's what I'm shooting for.
Okay. So I think we're done with our work session, and we're ready to jump into the town board meeting at any time.
Okay, can I get a motion to do so?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Hey, welcome everyone to the Newcastle Town Board meeting for June 23rd, 2020. I wanted to run through a couple of things in my supervisor's report before we launch into our agenda for today. So the latest statistics have come out regarding COVID. Here in the town of Newcastle, we have had a grand total of 186 residents who have tested positive for COVID since the beginning of the pandemic, and only 5 of these have tested positive within the last 2 weeks. So these numbers continue to be very good for our town, as well as for our county as a whole. And commensurate with that, we have now entered into phase 3. Phase 3 includes food services, so indoor dining at restaurants, as well as personal care, things like nail salons, tanning, tattoo and piercing facilities, and spa and massage services. So I ask people to please familiarize yourself with the guidance for phase 3. Much like phase 2, when we were able to resume shopping and retail, things will be different when you go into restaurants and when you go to a nail salon. So, familiarize yourself with what's different, and please, follow the guidance that has been set forth. One of the other things that's happened recently is that the governor over the weekend released a new executive order, specifically regarding the sale of alcoholic beverages, and mandating that the restaurant that sells the alcoholic beverages must be able to supervise an area radius of 100 feet around the premises. So what that means for all of us as residents, as customers, is if you're dining outdoors and you're enjoying a drink with your meal, you need to finish it on the premise. You can't actually pick it up and leave with it. And we thank everyone for doing their part to ensure that we can continue to have the openings that we've been the sort of opportunities that have been granted to us. The governor has been quite clear that he will revoke people's liquor licenses should this guidance not be fully observed. So it's up to us. We want to continue to be able to eat outdoors, to have a glass of wine or a drink with our meal. So we have to all do our part. Also in phase 3, we are now allowed gatherings of up to 25 people. Previously it was 10 people. Now that we've entered phase 3, we're up to 25 people for any lawful purpose. And we must continue to maintain social distancing protocols and cleaning and disinfection protocols. Sort of tagging onto that theme, we want to remind people to please keep wearing your masks. So as we continue to progress in the phased reopening, the executive orders that require New Yorkers to wear their masks are still very much in effect. You must wear your mask or face covering in public when social distancing, which means staying 6 feet apart from someone else, is not possible. This goes for everyone when you're on public transportation, when you're in a store, when you're on a crowded sidewalk, walking through town. Anyone, including children over the age of 2, must be wearing face masks. A couple of last minute things about our own community, questions that have come up several times recently over the past week. Playgrounds. So New York State really kind of gave everybody a bit of a happy surprise when they decided to allow public playgrounds to reopen at the discretion of local governments. Westchester County is developing some procedures and some guidance that they're offering to local governments. We will be using that to create kind of our own local reopening plan, and we are awaiting that guidance. And we're also doing some final prep work. We were not anticipating being able to open our playgrounds until phase 4. So it's a welcome surprise that we're able to open early, but we also need to do some work to get our playgrounds into good shape so that we can reopen. Our target date right now is Wednesday, July 1st to reopen our playgrounds. And we thank everyone for their patience. We know that some playgrounds have started to reopen in other places. We've heard New York City has opened playgrounds. We are getting there, and we are working hard to be able to resume this service for everybody in this town. And one of the exciting things that's going to happen is that our town hall playground and basketball court is going to be among the facilities that's able to open this summer. And so I want to say a special thank you to the town hall team continuing to work on this project and bringing it in on time and on budget. We've also been getting a lot of questions about ball fields and outdoor activities and youth sports. So at the end of last week, the state released some new guidance on sports and recreation. Low risk outdoor activities are immediately allowed. That includes things like individual running, batting cages, hunting, mini golf, which is not here in Newcastle, non-motorized boating, tennis, rock climbing, individual swimming, crew, cross-country running, and ropes courses. So those are things that were allowed immediately. Then there are a category of things that are more moderate risk activities. And that's a particular interest to this community because it includes some youth sports. So the things that are considered moderate risk and may return as of July 6th for regions that have entered into phase 3, which includes us. This includes baseball and softball, racket games like badminton and racquetball, water polo, gymnastics, field hockey, swim team relays, and crew rafting, paintball, soccer, and non-contact lacrosse. So you can visit the website, the state website, to learn more about this guidance. And in accordance with it, the town intends to reopen our ball fields to support those moderate risk activities in time for the July 6th date on which they can resume. We obviously don't have a public pool, a municipal pool here in the town of Newcastle, but we have been working with our local pool clubs and homeowners associations to help them plan for their reopening in accordance with state guidelines that have been issued on pools. If there are any local pool operators or homeowner association presidents, if you need any assistance, please feel free to reach out to the town and with help expediting your seasonal permits or any other issues that you have. And that's all for me for today. Jill, do you have anything for the administrator's report?
Just a couple of updates. Thanks for giving the update on the playground and basketball court. They did the pour in place over the weekend, so you can see the different colors. It's looking really great. They will be coming to pave the basketball court. It takes 2 weeks for that to set, and then they'll be painting it. So figure mid to end of July for us to be able to open up behind Town Hall. So we're really excited about that. We had a kickoff meeting this past week for both the Tertia Brook project and for the Millwood rec field. I'm just going to mention Tertia Brook because it did come up in some emails back and forth. So there is a little bridge that people probably don't notice that separates the back parking lot from the front parking lot at at the commuter parking train station. And so that back parking lot area is actually where graduation, high school graduation was this past weekend. And that bridge has to be replaced. Unfortunately for us, there is a high voltage electric conduit that runs actually through the bridge structure that feeds and operates Metro North Railroad. So we have been working with Con Ed to take and get this all together. If people drive by, they will actually see that there are new poles that have been installed in the train station parking lot along Pines Bridge Road. We intend to actually replace that bridge in August. It's either the first or second week of August. So we're hoping that there's still going to be a load in the commuter parking lot. It's going to be replaced over the course of a weekend, but there's also some substantial drainage work that goes with it. So I know that some people are looking at the front of the parking lot saying, oh, that's great that they did around Memorial Circle. What about the back of that parking lot that, you know, with those terrible divots and, you know, what about that, guys? We're on it. And that will be paved later this summer. And it's top on our list. But so we're definitely working on it, and people should just be aware of that. That's a bigger project than it looks. And the last thing is that the Millwood recreation field, we had a kickoff meeting for our consultant who's going to come in. They're going to survey the place, lay out all the electrical work that has to be done, laying the conduits, and we are on target so that next year in 2022, spring 2022, that will be a lighted field, and we're really excited to move it along. So just want to let people know where we're going. That's it for me.
Great. Thank you very much. Pulling my agenda back up. So now we come to the portion of our meeting that is reserved for public comment and new business. I do not see any attendees on our Zoom call today, but I will check first with Christina Papes. Did we receive any public comments in advance for this meeting?
No, the only thing we received is the response to the referrals from Westchester County Planning Board and our own Planning Board. And that was included in your packet, and I think emailed as well.
Great. And Carrie Krams, do we have any?
No,
Nothing on YouTube and no attendees right now.
Okay.
Okay. Well then,
Our public hearing?
yes, so, so I'm guessing the answer to this question. So do we need a motion to open the public hearing?
So moved.
Yes.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Nick, do you want to run with it?
Absolutely. So this is a local law to extend the moratorium that was adopted with respect to building permits and land use approvals for the Chappaqua Hamlet. The moratorium was adopted in December of 2018 and twice extended in June and December of 2019, and the current moratorium expires June 30th, 2020. The local law was referred to the town planning board, who recommended that it be adopted and continued, as well as to the county planning board, and the county planning board took no position with respect to it being extended and did note that this would be the third extension and encourage the town to do its best to avoid any further extensions. I will note for the record that since the adoption of the local law extension in December of 2019, the town board finalized the second draft of the form-based code and held a meeting on January 14th of 2020 with the downtown working group to discuss the proposed legislation and secret documentation. And on January 14th, the town board adopted a resolution to declare and issue a positive declaration, and then held a series of meetings in January and February before adopting the final scoping document for the draft generic environmental impact statement on April 28th, 2020. And the town's consultants are diligently working on the draft generic environmental impact statement. So there has been a significant amount of work during each point in time in which moratorium has been extended, and in my opinion, there's a justification for continuation of a moratorium to preserve the status quo. And tonight, with the moratorium expiring on June 30th, you would be in a position to consider adopting the local law tonight.
Hey, Sabrina, as long as we have you here at the meeting with us tonight, can you provide us with an update on how the work is progressing with the consultants on the draft GEIS?
It's actually been moving forward. As recently as today, I have had conversations with Bonnie Von Olson regarding initial visual impact analyses that's being done. I can tell you that from the sewer and water perspective, last week, Bob Cioli, the town engineer, and I had meetings with Bonnie and her team to review sewer and water information. We've also been discussing professional review of the information that Kimley Horn is generating in relation to the GEIS. And I have discussed with the department heads that different sections of the GEIS in relation to the scoping outline will be provided to them early on so that they can understand the information, bless the information, make sure we're all, aware of the information that is being generated and making sure it's consistent with previous information we've given them. So there is definitively forward movement on developing the GEIS. I'm hopeful that I do not need to come back to the town board at any point in time to ask for redirection. I think we definitely were pretty detail oriented in the scoping outline. And as of today, actually this evening, I received the final contracts for the community outreach consultant who is ready to start working as of July 1st. So we are full bore steam ahead.
Great. And do we have an updated date of when we might anticipate receiving, when the town board might anticipate receiving the draft?
No, we're still looking at end of summer for that.
Okay, great. Thank
We're
you.
still on time. Sure.
So did we have any public comments for our hearing? It's hard not to know the answer is going to be no when we have no one on the.
All right, so should we close it out and
And we've confirmed there's no one on YouTube who's
Nobody, yep, nobody there.
okay. Seems appropriate to close.
so moved?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All right, should we jump into the payment of
Thank
claim?
you all.
Thank you.
Sure.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Bye, thanks, Sabrina. See you tomorrow.
Payment of claims and get the
See
ball
you
rolling.
tomorrow.
I
Jeremy,
move,
you ready?
yeah, sure. I move to approve the payment of claims, the amount of $129,261.83 listed on the summary pre-check writing report and detail voucher report, each prepared on June 22nd, 2020. Checks will be issued and mailed to each claimant listed on Wednesday, June 24th of this glorious year.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
I move to adopt the work session in the minutes from June 16th, 2020.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
I move to authorize contract price extension for 1 additional year with no increase in bid contract price from June 25th, 2020 through June 24th, 2021 for the chemical suppliers listed below. Please note that we have chosen to not bid for item 3, potassium. I was about to say pomegranate, but that's not right. Potassium permanganate, close enough. And as reflected.
This is a
below.
chemistry major.
Yeah. Items 1 through 8, as reflected below.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
I move to award bid DPW 2020-03 water treatment chemicals to the below responsible bidders that meet the specifications for liquid aluminum sulfate and liquid caustic soda. These prices have been bid by the vendors to cover a 1-year period from the time of the award, June 2020 through June 2021, with the possibility of a 1-year extension.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
I move to accept the funding from the New York State Department of Transportation within the CHIPS, Pave New York, and Extreme Weather Recovery Programs. The funding for SFY 2020 to 2021 is CHIPS is $222,656.18. Pave New York is $42,577.94. The Extreme Weather Recovery Program is $42,577.94 for a total amount of $316,057.60, subject to a possible 20% reduction from the New York State due to COVID-19.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
There you go.
Yeah.
Sure. Okay, I move to authorize entering into an agreement with Call Ahead, 304 Cross Bay Boulevard, Broad Channel, New York, for the rental of portable bathrooms at Amsterdam Park for the summer camp program in accordance with their quote number 1715352-0 in the amount of $5,625.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. I authorize extending the contract for DPW bid B 2019-6 solid waste services for buildings owned by the town of Newcastle to Suburban Carting Company with no increase in price for services provided for the effective dates of July 1st, 2020 to June 30th, 2021.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. And this is amending a resolution previously adopted. I move to authorize the hiring of Carolina Patrocinio to the position of Assistant Assessment Clerk within the Assessor's Department on a provisional basis pending successful completion of a civil service test at an annual salary of $61,242.03. Group 3, Step 3, with a revised effective date of July 20th, 2020, subject to Westchester County Civil Service rules and guidelines, and a probationary period of 52 weeks commencing from permanent appointment to the position.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
I move to authorize the hiring of the individuals listed below for the position of recreation attendant within the Recreation and Parks Department for the 2020 camp season at the following rates as listed effective June 22nd, 2020. This list replaces the list adopted by the resolution on June 16, 2020.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
I realized I should have mentioned that our next meeting is going to be July 14th. So we're off for 2 weeks. July 14th and then 21st, and then again, October 11th. And we don't know if that next meeting is going to be virtual or not. So we will keep everybody informed.
But we're optimistic.
We're
I
optimistic that we'll be
Yeah, no,
Zooming.
I mentioned this to Jeremy earlier today when we spoke, that on the county call yesterday, several towns were pushing pretty hard to get this extension, because they cannot set up, with social distancing in their town halls. So, there seems to be a real groundswell of support for it. So hopefully that's not just in Westchester, but throughout the state. And we'll see it carried forward. The other thing I learned was that, and I probably should have known this, but I didn't realize it, was that the extensions can only happen in 30-day time periods. So that's the reason that it went to July 6th. And so hopefully, it'll be extended another 30 days.
Nick, do you know if anybody's introduced a local law to take and just, amend the open meetings law to just?
Right. I mean, we've suggested that we've had conversations with the New York State Committee on Open Government that the Senate or the Assembly should amend the open meetings law, but I've not seen that occur. No.
Just asking.
That would be the best solution. Yes.
Okay.
Could you get a home rule for that, or that wouldn't be applicable?
No, you couldn't do a home rule because it's of general applicability throughout the state.
I just wanted to hear you say that. Thank you.
I'm trying to figure out we'll rotate board members in and out of the town hall dais because I don't have enough room to fit all 5 of you across the room.
I'll stay home.
I'll be on the playground. I'll be on the swing.
That's a fabulous looking playground. Have you seen that? Have you visited lately? It's unbelievable.
I was not this week, but I was there last week.
Yeah. Sorry.
So we don't have a meeting until 7/14? I'm sorry, I just wanted to double.
Yes, July 14th is going to be our next meeting.
Save the date. We are looking to do the listening sessions for the Council on Race and Equity, possibly July 6th and 7th. So,
And those are going to be virtual, right?
yes.
Perfect.
And public meetings, but that would be in place of our usual town board meeting that week.
Okay.
Did
Wonderful.
we did this memorandum, this resolution before, did we? The extension, did we do it?
No, not yet. The
Okay.
last one.
Lauren,
Okay.
I think we should move to just have Nick summarize it and then just. move
Yeah.
it. Council? Council?
Okay. Well, I'm sorry. I didn't have that one up on my screen.
The moratorium.
You only have to read the resolved part of it.
Right. Just be it resolved that the next local law extending the moratorium for a further 6 months is hereby adopted.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
I guess that's why you're so good at those, Lisa. I never realized that of all these years. You just had to read the last part. Now I know your secret. You just said it. I always thought I was always impressed by you.
The secret's out.
The secret's out. All right. Well, I moved the last line to adjourn.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye.